Hi, I'm Alan Ross with EPRA, and this is another EPRA Take 5. Our guest today is Dominick Musisca. Dominick is a friend and a brother who has been taking care of transformers for as long as I've known him, so he is a transformer expert. Hey, Dom, so we both got this sign that somebody sent us that said, warning, if you do not schedule maintenance for your equipment will schedule maintenance for itself. And I think I wrote in there and I wrote to you and I said, what if we put, if you don't schedule maintenance for your electrical equipment, it will schedule it for itself. What does it mean, maintenance of your electrical equipment? Talk to me about maintenance of transformers.
Well, maintenance of transformers really begins after you have your diagnostic oil sampling performed. You want to review those and go over and sit down. Many times I have customers that call me up annually and we'll go over their results and identify the transformers that are their most important assets and identify those. And then it's a matter of them going out and actually starting the maintenance with a first inspection of the transformer, walking around, looking for gauges and making sure the gauges are appropriate to where they're supposed to be reading at, temperature gauges, pressure gauges, level gauges. Identifying any type of leaks is extremely important. The earlier you can identify those leaks and take some good photos, and then that allows us to really gather information. And then from there, it's a matter of doing your oil processing that needs to be done, whether it's degassing, whether it's hot oil cleaning, whether it's re-inhibiting your transformer. Topping off, believe it or not, is one of the most basic oil processes to be performed. And it can be done depending on the surroundings. It can be done online. A lot of these oil processes can be done online depending on certain procedures and protocols of the test. But when you can do those maintenance oil processing and get those in a regular schedule, your maintenance falls right into line and you have a nice healthy transformer that you really don't have to do anything more than maintain it and get into your daily routine of inspections and looking at your results. Not saying that every now and then. I had a customer, for instance, that didn't realize that his pressure gauge was reading 0 and he thought everything was fine. He didn't have too much pressure. But when he kept coming out, it was 0 week after week or month after month. He didn't understand that it was either the gauge or the actual transformer had a leak somewhere and there was no positive or negative pressure. So we always like to see a positive or a vacuum on a transformer to understand that it has a good tight seal. So once we identified that, in fact, it was a leak in one of his bushings and we were able to shut down during an outage and repair that.
So I got a question for you. You mentioned, I got 3 questions for you, okay? So address each of these in order. The first one is, you mentioned top off, and you and I have both seen top offs done incorrectly. Somebody gets up on top of the transformer and a bucket of, but talk about the correct procedure, because, and don't go too much into it, because I got to ask you other questions about oil, but the top off, how do you do that right?
Well, when you want to perform a top off of a transformer, you want to make sure that first of all, safety is the utmost important. Making sure that the contact and our technicians can get to the top valve or the bottom valve in a safe manner with the required distance between the primary leads or secondary. So if we can get to the top valve, we actually like to have our equipment as close as possible, and we will actually connect to the top and bottom. We will vent the transformer so it is vented. And we add the compatible fluid. Most fluids are compatible except silicone. Silicone is its own animal, and you can only use silicone fluid with silicone equipment. Many times I've had customers who actually mentioned about somebody came out and cross-contaminated their fluid. So Joe Brown down in the corner with his jacuzzi and truck backing up a 55-gallon can, pumping it out, isn't always the best procedure to do.
We've also seen the one where the guy has the 5-gallon bucket of oil and he's pouring it with a funnel, he's pouring in the top. Okay, I want to stay with the oil just a little bit. You mentioned online processing. I'm a huge advocate for the fact that if you keep your oil dry and
Yes.
clean, you're going to number one, you're going to increase the life of the transformer, number one. Number two, if you do have an anomaly, some sort of spike or sag or something, the healthy transformers with clean oil and dry oil can withstand that, right? They can withstand it. There was an old way of drying oil, and that was factory dry out. You may as well cha-ching, 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 take out a lot of bucks. Nobody recommends that unless it's a GSU. It can't be made anywhere else. Talk to me, and I know that SDMyers sells a product. You're not allowed to talk about it, but talk to me about the process of drying that is now IEEE recommended.
Well, processing dehydration is at a good time when what we call free water. When you want to come in with a rig, there's so much water in the transformer that you actually open the bottom valve and you see more water coming out before you get to your oil sampling. That's free water. That's the only time really, other than maybe small units that can't have an application of a passive dryer. Smaller units, then we'll dehydrate those. But with large units, dehydrating, you have 100 times more moisture in and around the paper and core and coils than you do ever in your oil. And you have to figure out, we go by moisture by dry weight. And that's the actual how much moisture is in that insulation paper versus percent saturation, which is the oil and saturation of moisture in that oil. So when you dehydrate with a rig, you're only removing the moisture out of the oil. You're not doing really anything to that core and coils where all that moisture is hibernating and stays there until later on it comes back out when it heats up and it forms an equilibrium and it bleeds back out into the oil. So the equipment that we have, passive drying equipment, is a great tool. It's been used for a number of years. IEEE recognizes it. It can be installed on a transformer while it's operating, again, barring safety procedures, and we can get to the top valve, and actually operates 24/7, 365 for many months. First, removing that water in the oil, and then it bears down on that moisture that's in around the windings of the paper and starts pulling that out and removing that. And with our tracking system, you can actually watch on your dashboard and watch the moisture actually trend down by day each time. So,
Well, okay, we've just covered our take 5, and so listen, we're going to change it. Instead of, if you do not schedule maintenance, then we changed it to if you do not schedule electrical maintenance. Now we're going to change it and say if you do not take care of your oil. But Dom, we're going to do this again because there's a plethora of maintenance issues. And then I also want to talk to you about some of the reliability methodologies that are used with transformer. But that's a great way to explain what it means to maintain your electrical equipment. Thank you so much. Dom is with SDMyers. He's tried to stay away from too much, but he has used we do. And you know what? Because they do. And I appreciate that greatly. This has been another EPRA Take 5. Hope you've enjoyed it.